Hey guys, it's Kelly. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you about the 13 books I read in the month of May. I was on a freaking roll this month. I had so many blog tours. Let me tell you my stats. So, I read 13 books. 6 of those books were blog tours, and I enjoyed all of the blog tour books I read. I read 3 graphic novels, 1 nonfiction, 4 middle grade, and 3 of the 13 were ebooks. And so I read 10 physical books. So, I don't have my stars rating. I will leave my star ratings down in the description, and I will leave my blog tour links in the description as well. So go read those. I'm not gonna go into much detail about some of the books that I read, because some of the books you need to go into blind, and I'll tell you about one that I just went into completely blind, and then I read the synopsis and it completely tells you what happens in the book. And ignore my Orion constellation on my face. So let's get into the books I read. The first book that I read for the month of May, it was a blog tour, and I read it as an ebook, but then I got a finished copy, and it is All Our Broken Pieces by L.D. Christian, I don't know. It's about this girl. She has obsessive compulsive, and she has anxiety. She is moving to live with her dad and his new family. She lived in Maine. Her dad lives in California. She's moving from Maine to California because her mom died in a horrific car accident, and she thinks that it's her fault because the day that her mom died, it was on her birthday. She didn't have the right color candles in her cake, and she was obsessing about it and freaking out about it, saying they needed to be this color and this many, despite her age. And so her mom got into the car and got hit by a drunk driver and died. Her new neighbor is this boy that was in a house fire as a little kid, and it's scarred all the side of his face, and he keeps it covered with his hair, and she brings him out of his shell and gets him to stop wearing his hoodies and shows his face. And so, yeah. And she has a fear of cars. She has a fear of driving, which I have that same fear. So I connected with her on that. The girl's name is Lennon. Her mom and dad were big John Lennon fans. And the boy's name is Kyler, and he's known as the hermit, or a loner. So I think I gave this a 4 out of 5, and I really enjoyed it. And the cover is so pretty. Right after that one, there was another blog tour spot that I had to do, and I got an arc of Hope and Other Punchlines by Julie Buxbaum. It's about this girl. Her name is Hope, and she has her birthday on September 11th. On September 11th, 2001. It was her first birthday, and she got this photograph taken of her of when the towers were falling. There's a picture taken of her holding a red balloon, and she was in the daycare of the Twin Towers, or I think the North Tower, and her caregiver at the time was running, and there was a whole bunch of people running behind her, terrified and just running. And so she's known around the world as Baby Hope, and she does not want that notoriety anymore. She's tired of being, oh, you're Baby Hope, and she's tired of people coming to her crying and saying, how are you, and all this. And this takes place in the summer. She goes to a different town where she's not really well known, and she wants it that way because she just wants a summer where she's not recognized as Baby Hope, and her real name is Abby. one of the guys who's a junior counselor, just like her, is from her town, and he wants to connect. He wants to find everybody in the picture because one of the men in the picture was his dad, and his dad's been missing, and they say that he died in the Twin Tower in the September 11th attacks. But this guy, I think his name Noah, he doesn't believe that his dad's dead. I really like it. I tried looking up the Baby Hope picture, and it tells you at the very end that the Baby Hope picture is a fabrication, and that the author got inspiration from other well-known pictures from that day of the people, of the firefighters raising the flag and people running with ash covering their faces. Turned 1, her birthday is September 11th. That's like a really awful birthday. I was 10 when September 11th happened. I was in 5th grade. Third book is another blog tour spot. I try to schedule all my blog tours at the beginning of the month just to get them out of the way. And so the third one is Planet Earth is Blue by Nicole Pantelikos. It's a middle grade, and it's about an autistic girl. She adores space. This takes place in the 80s, and she is obsessed. She's like really into the Challenger launch, and she's excited because one of the people, I don't know much about the Challenger, but I think in this story one of the astronauts that's going up is a teacher from her state, and so they're all excited. And I don't know much about Challenger. I'm gonna have to look it up to see what is factually accurate, but she's autistic, and the author is on the autism spectrum, which it's kind of on voices. And the little girl's name is Nova, which is awesome. And she has an older sister named Bridget. She's mute. She doesn't speak well. And she goes to this new school. She has she has new foster parents. Her older sister, Bridget, and took her and ran away with her. And then she keeps asking where Bridget is, and are you going to come find me and rescue me and come watch the Challenger launch with me? And she writes these notes, and on the notes it's like 10 days till launch, 8 days till launch, are you coming? And yeah, so I really enjoyed it. It was cute. It was sad. I was not expecting what happened. She loves overalls, which I used to wear a lot of overalls, and I loved them too, so that was cool. Yep. So I want to get Ari to read this. Ari loves space. This book is The Walking Dead book 12. I don't know the comics, which ones are in this particular bind up, but I read these. I don't read the individual comics because my library doesn't have them. But this is right when, after the war with the Saviors, and the Whisperers come in to play, and that ending. I can't speak much about this book without spoiling the books and the show. I'm not caught up. I'm just starting season 8, which I thought I was in the middle of season 8, and I'm not. I'm so far behind. But yeah, that ending. Okay, what I know is they're separate. Different people die in the book than dying. Different people die at the hands of the Whisperers in the book than in the show. I gasped audibly at the end reading, when I got done reading, when I got to the last page of book 12. I was like, I was like this, and I was just like, oh my god. And then I got spoiled, thanks to Tumblr, at that same spot from the book on the show. And I was just like, what? So, I can't speak much about this one, but I can show y'all my reactions. Next one is Sea Prayer by Khaled Hosseini. I have 2 Khaled Hosseini books on my shelf, The Kite Runner and A Thousand Splendid Suns. I have not read those yet. I'm going to read I'm going to read both of those books this summer. I'm going to try to. Sea Prayer, I've been wanting to read, and I read it with my kids. It's about war, and it's about refugees, and how the city was vibrant and lively, and then it got bombed, bombed and shot up, and then people are living under tarps and ruins, and they have to like be stealthy so as not to get shot. Talks about refugees in the Mediterranean Ocean, or the Mediterranean Sea. What is it, a sea or ocean? The sea, Mediterranean Sea, and how some of the boats flipped over. I read it to my kids and they kind of enjoyed it. I don't know if they really understood what a refugee is, but they know about war and stuff. And I think it's appropriate to read with your kids. It'll introduce them to current events today. The next one is another blog tour, and it was an ebook, and it is What We Do for Love. I love this cover. I love the yarn heart and the thorny crown. But it's about a woman, I forget her name. She is a ceramic artist, ceramic sculpturist, and that's how she makes her business. She is a single mom. She has a son in high school who's about to go off to college, and then one day, it's the best day of her life, she gets a commission for this museum in her town to just do a display. And she has, I think, 9-10 weeks to make this piece of art and get it ready for display. And then that same day, her son comes home and says, "Mom, I got a girl pregnant and her parents kicked her out. She needs somewhere to stay." And so it's through the summer, how, it's not through the summer, it's about 2-3 weeks, and her sister moves back in. So it's all about this family unit, how they come together to make life possible. Her sister, who's separated from her husband, she's in charge of cooking and grocery shopping. The son, he's freaking out. And, like, at some point, I called him a little deadbeat because he was like, "Do I have to be in the hospital room with her when she has the baby? Do I have to marry her? Do I have to be with her? Why do I have to do this?" And he was just a little fucking asshole who pissed me off to no end. But then things happen. But I still have that thought. And I really enjoyed it. I read it in one sitting. If you want to know more about my thoughts, go read them in my blog tour spot. I finally read The Graveyard Book, and I enjoyed it so much more than The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. And so, me liking this, it kind of saved Neil Gaiman, and I'm going to be reading American Gods next. I know in a different video I said that I didn't know which one I was going to read next. I really want to watch the show, so I'm going to be reading American Gods. And I know he has a book out called Norse Mythology, I think. And I've been reading The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. I'm back into mythology. This is about a boy. He gets raised by ghosts. His parents are murdered along with his older sister by a man named Jack. And his name, the baby's name, he gets brought up by the Owenses and his guardian, Cyrus. I think that's his or Silas. I should remember. Uncle Si. Yeah, Duck Dynasty. So, his guardian is Silas. Silas is not a dead person, and he wasn't a human person, so he's more like a shadow person or a poltergeist. He's the one that brings Bod food, clothes, books to keep him occupied, and helps him enroll in school. And when Bod turns 15, then things start to go weird. So I highly enjoyed this. I love ghosts and spirits and stuff. I want a sequel. I think a sequel would be perfect. I read Clockwork Prince, and can I just reaffirm my love for Jim? He is just the cutest, sweetest, most loving little cinnamon roll, and he deserves everything. Tessa chose right. I'm not a big fan of Will Herondale. I'm not. Don't throw tomatoes at me, but I'm not. He's kind of an a-hole. He's a jerk. I understood why he thought he was cursed, and he had to push away his family. Also, that ending with his sister. Yeah, so I need to read City of Heavenly Fire, or not Lost Souls, but the fourth one. No. I read City of Bones, City of Glass, City of 5. Book 5. And the Mortal Instruments, so I can read Clockwork Princess. This was so good. I did a reading vlog on it. I will link it down below. Please go watch it. It is so good. I just swoon over Jim. Also, little PSA. If you have your books in front of a window with a blind, don't stick them in front of a blind because they will burn. This is my favorite so far. 5 out of 5. The next book we read was Rise of the Island Lost. This is book 3 in the Descendants series. My husband's home. It's about Uma, Ursula's daughter, and the descendants, Mal, Evie, Carlos, and Jay. They get requested to help find King Triton's golden trident. His niece or young daughter took it and messed with it and was not supposed to do that. And that's not my husband, that's UPS. Hold on. It mentions one of my favorite side characters in Disney. One of the animals. Tick-Tock Croc. It's my favorite. Yes. Tick-Tock Croc. I love it. Anyways. The 4th book comes out this summer. Can't wait to read it. The 3rd movie, I think they're still filming. I don't really like the movies. And this, The Rise of the Island Lost was a very quick read. Very quicker than the first 2 books. And I did another blog tour spot for a book called The Brilliance of Fireflies. The main character, it's another death thing where she moves from one state to another. So, I forget her name, but she moves to California to live with her senile grandmother because her parents were killed in a terrorist attack at a minor league baseball game. And so she goes to California to live with her grandmother. Her grandmother has Alzheimer's and she's losing her mind. She has to have a caregiver 24/7. Well, not 24/7, but most of the day. And this girl tries to live out her parents' dreams. Her mom wanted to run 50 marathons before she turned 50. Her brother wanted to play football at Ohio State University, and her dad wanted to take a big family trip to Greece because they are Greek. And so she gets a job at a animal shelter to help fund said trip that she's going to take, which is not in the book. She starts running marathons and she beats her target, and she's in her head all the time, like she can't do this. She hasn't trained very well. She joins cross country at her new high school, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know what it was about with the books having death and grief and terrorism. I read 2 books with terrorism, 2 books about grief and death, and moving to California. So, I think that was a trend for May book releases. Also, if you want to know more of my thoughts on the Brilliance of Fireflies, I will link the blog tour post down below. And so, a book that Sammy has been begging me to read since she got it in her outcrate last November is Sanity and Tallulah by Molly Brooks. This is book 1 in I forget what the series is called, but I know the second book is called Field Trip. And this is about 2 little girls set in space. They live in this space station with a bunch of other people, and they're scientific. And I liked it. I thought it was funny at times, and I thought it was a little too advanced for kids my daughter's age, because it taught scientific stuff. Think Martian. Think of The Martian with the scientific talk. It was a little watered down, but even I didn't understand some of the stuff in this if I didn't look it up. The weasels, what are they called? Or ferrets? The white things. They weren't squirrels.
No.
Weasels or ferrets?
Ferrets, probably.
They're pests. It's an invasion. They eat the meat, which was gross.
And I heard you say ew that one day when you saw that pink stuff.
That shit was nasty. Let me show you there's the meat. And it's all pink and blues and grays and whites. The artwork. I didn't really like the artwork. I thought it could have been more fluid. It was just a little too sharp. And I'm going to be getting the second book for Christmas. And the 3-headed cat, what's the name?
Princess Sparkle, Destroyer of Worlds! You forgot?
Mm-hmm. Princess is one head, Sparkle
Liz another, and then
Destroyer of Worlds was the 3rd head. Princess Sparkle, Destroyer of Worlds. And so, it's a white cat, and it gets taken away at the end. So,
they think it'll be dangerous?
Because no animals are allowed on the space station ship thing.
And that lady.
Oh,
the girl who said that cat should be destroyed. She should be destroyed, lady.
Yeah, Sammy feels very strongly about
animals.
These characters. But, yeah. I think it's cute. It was fun to read, but...
Show them the picture of the cat.
No, I'm not going to show them the picture of the cat. Is it in the front or the back? Wilnick Station. That's the name of the space station thingamajigger. Oh, there's the cat. Princess Sparkle, Destroyer of Worlds.
Thank you.
My nonfiction read for the month was Becoming by Michelle Obama. If you saw my April library haul, then you saw that I was freaking out because it was due 2 days before that I posted that video, and then my library got some more copies in, and my hold was available for another request. So, I read it. I enjoyed it. I love Michelle Obama, especially the song Boss by Fifth Harmony. Yeah. And I enjoyed reading about Michelle Obama from childhood all the way up to when she was no longer First Lady. How I loved her family dynamic, how she explained it, because I used to have that before my great-grandmother passed away, and then the family fell apart. And how she called Barack Obama an ethnic geek. No, exotic geek. That was my favorite part of the whole book. because he had a Kenyan father and he was from Hawaii and he was geeky and he was reading a lot and he was just a nerd. So yeah, I highly enjoyed it. And she talks about the garden that she did at the White House, how protective she was of her daughters when they went to Sidwell's, and how her and Malia, no, either Malia or Sasha, how they snuck out to watch the fireworks. They had to sneak out and they couldn't sneak out well enough without help from the White House. It was just, yeah, I enjoyed it. Loved it. Made me cry when I read about the part of her dad, and that's kind of like my dad. If he's hurt, he waits until the last very possible second before he can't take anymore. And yeah, highly enjoyed it. I'm going to need my own copy, but it's not going to be a reread because it took me 2 weeks to read it. It wasn't boring, but it was very slow paced. The text was tiny. But yeah, I enjoyed it. 5 out of 5. I want her to write more. The other graphic novel I read this month was a Hotel Dare. I forget who wrote it. I will put the picture right here. The cover is beautiful. It's greens and pinks. I got sent this as a PDF. It was an art copy, and it's about these 3 kids. They're 2 of the kids are Mexican and biological siblings, and then 1 is foster or adopted, and she's a white girl. And so they are going to, their father sends them to their grandmother to help her with her hotel, and they help her clean it up, and it's basically just like to teach them a lesson during the summer, something like that. And the hotel is magical. It's got many worlds and doors, and so they enter these worlds, and Charlotte, the white girl, she gets stuck in one of these worlds and she gets kidnapped, and they have to bring the family together, and they also try to find their abuelo. I enjoyed it. It was a little confusing at times. It didn't really flow with the story. The story didn't flow well. It would talk about one thing and then jump straight to another and then jump back to that one thing. So yeah, it was kind of confusing, but the artwork was super pretty. The colors and the gist of it, like Day of the Dead mask and stuff and warriors, yeah, it's mentioned in that. It's nothing like Coco, but Day of the Dead and mask, sort of like it. The last book I read for the month of May is The Bone Charmer by Brianna Shields. If you follow me on Instagram, then my last post is of this book, and I give a PSA saying don't read the synopsis and go ahead and just start reading this book. Don't go into it knowing anything. Go into it completely blind, and then you'll be surprised after chapter 3, after chapter 2 or chapter 3. I'm not going to tell you what this book's about because I want y'all to read this book without knowing anything. I did, and I was super impressed. I loved it. My husband's home, so I gotta make this quick. So I'm not going to tell y'all what it's about. It was a blog tour spot. If you want to know, if you want to be spoiled, go read that. But yeah, Brianna Shields, she is the author of Poison's Kiss with that green snake, and I'm obsessed. It's about magic and bones and fantasy and blood and violence. It's beautiful. I loved it. I'm going to be getting the finished copy. So yes, I highly enjoyed this. It's my favorite. 5 out of 5. That is it for my May wrap up. If you have read any of these books or want to read any of these books, let me know down in the comments. And what did you think about said books, if you read any of them? Are you looking forward to reading any of them? Are you still hesitant to read some of them? If you want to read my blog tour reviews, all of them will be linked down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.